All right, good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. And it's time for us to get into more issues of the country, and that is good afternoon, Ghana, with the economy. So it's been a lot of talk about the economy. I would say maybe before or since the finance minister presented the budget, and we've done more analysis on it. But the NDC has done an extensive one, and the final call that they put together is to demand the resignation of the Bank of Ghana governor. What are the issues? We'll talk more about it as we get into the discussion with Manasseh Attabuahin, who is government spokesperson on economy, and also Professor John Gachi will join us. He is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School. Also, Wanda Madilo will speak with us. He will also join us in the studio here. He is development analyst, and also a member of the NDC. And we'll talk more about it. Also, Manasseh is a member of the NPP and speaks on behalf of the Finance Ministry. We'll be talking to him as well. Right, so let's take a breather. When we come back, we'll start talking. My name is Anie Fwampofo. All right, welcome back to the program. It's good afternoon, Ghana. Like I said earlier, Wanda Madilo has joined me already, a development analyst and also a member of the NDC. Wanda, you're welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Right. But you were at the press conference yesterday, right? You were. How many of you were there? Everybody was there, including the minority members. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. So the minority group led the... Okay. Kindly put on your mic. I think your mic is off. Okay. We're expecting Manasseh Attabuahin to join us via Zoom, and also Professor John Gachi will join us to neutralize the issues as we, engage in a debate. Okay, Manasseh is with me already, I'm told, and Manasseh Attabuahin is a government spokesperson on the economy. Manasseh, thank you for your time. You're welcome. Good afternoon to you. Oh, kindly unmute so I can,
Yes, Annie, a very good afternoon to you and cherished viewers. And good afternoon to my senior brother in the studio too.
All right. Thank you. I can hear you now. You're welcome. Okay. Later we'll have John Gachi join us as and when he will join the discussion. Right. So you have, Wanda, you've said a lot of what you're demanding. Okay, well, some of the points that you make has to do with what you term as a criminal money printing quadrant. You also have the Bank of Ghana outrageous operational expenses. Yeah. You touched on the financial position of the bank in 2022. Yeah. And then which had the equity of 55.1 billion Ghana cedis, and losses of 60.8 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to $6 billion. The reason we're dealing with the situation now of Bank of Ghana's losses. Then we also have what you term the BoG's recklessness and mismanagement, computer-related expenses of the BoG cost and the suffering taxpayer, a whopping 67.9 million in 2022 alone. These are more. Maybe we also have the BoG recklessness and mismanagement, what you term the BoG's, this is the BoG's flouted its own law, which, I mean, if it's necessary, I'll quote it. The Act 2002, Act 612, the amendment of 2016, that's Act 2016, Act 918, which requires the governor to notify Parliament where advances to government exceeds 5% of the previous fiscal year's total revenue. I'll ask you maybe other questions on others. Yeah. What exactly do you want done now? Because we know what we are in. Asking the BoG to resign now, I'm not sure, but explain why you are taking this position.
First and foremost, we need to establish the relevance, the role that the Central Bank of Ghana plays in our body politics or governance. And if you understand that clearly, then we can make the deductions. First and foremost, you are aware that this kinds of data that was put out by themselves, the Bank of Ghana themselves, it makes one to wonder whether Ghana can even have a future in the next 2 weeks. Because in as much as the Bank of Ghana is responsible for monetary policy, we know and we understand that that committee, there's a committee called the Economic Policy Coordination Committee.
Yeah.
It's a 3-man committee headed by the finance minister, the Bank of Ghana governor, and the vice president of the republic, if he's the head of the EMT. And the 3 of them meet at least very often in order to review government policies, vis-a-vis fiscal policy, economic policy, because it has to be in sync and the two moves together.
Yeah.
And so you will observe that our position in this press conference is such that the governor has led this country into chaos financially. Because what it means if you say that you have negative equity, means that equity basically means that owners of the business and how much they have brought into the business. And now if you say you have a negative equity, it means that the owners of the business no longer has any money in the business. And as such, they are actually in debt. Not just not having money, they are in debt. So if you own a business and you wake up one day to realize that you are in debt, to the extent that even the capital you use in establishing the business is in debt, it means that you are no more. Now, the banks that the Bank of Ghana collapsed in the previous few years ago committed lesser sins than this. Some of them only needed about some 60 million Ghana cedis to show up their capital reserve. Some needed only 100 million Ghana cedis. Today, you have a Bank of Ghana coming out to tell us that on travel, domestic and commercial, domestic and foreign travels alone, they have spent some whopping 97 million Ghana cedis. Let me give you an idea what that translates into for us to understand. Understand, and I want you to know that even if you are buying a business class, for everybody who travels on BoG ticket, a business class costs an average of $5,000. And $5,000 in Ghana cedis is about some 57,000 Ghana cedis, right? Now, if you divide the 97 million by that 57,000 Ghana cedis, you will get 1,743 times. That means that somebody at the Bank of Ghana traveled 1,743 times within this period in 1 year. You want to be asking yourself, who are those doing the travels? How many board members that the Bank of Ghana have? To the extent that Bank of Ghana paid themselves, the board of directors paid themselves some whopping 8.6 million Ghana cedis in 1 year. You're asking yourself, the same Bank of Ghana that is declaring bankruptcy and declaring that they don't have money and declaring losses to the tune of 6.8 billion Ghana cedis is building a headquarters which cost them $250 million.
Right.
$250 million, if you want to translate, is 2.8 billion Ghana cedis. At the same time that you claim that the bank is collapsing. So indeed, the recklessness with which the bank has been managed in collusion with government. I mean, we say this without any apology because last 2 years when monies were doled out to government, we indicated that it was money printed and that was going to affect inflation. Government denied it. The Bank of Ghana themselves came out to deny it. Today, we can see the traces. Do you know that in the year before last year, Bank of Ghana alone gave government 45 billion Ghana cedis? And Bank of Ghana is not a profit-making institution. So they don't make money from anywhere. Any money they give out in such, areas, usually our money is printed. And that's why our inflation went up the way it went the last time. So our focus really is not even the bank, the governor himself. Our focus is that we need to rescue this country. And if you read the IMF report that was given to Ghana, one of the recommendations in that report is that the Bank of Ghana was becoming insolvent and that government in conjunction with the bank themselves should find a solution. You know what the solution is? Government will introduce a new tax, maybe called the Bank of Ghana recapitalization tax. That's all it means because government won't find the money to be able to do that.
We're having some tip-offs that we're likely to start paying a tax called what? The Bank of Ghana
recapitalization levy. That's what it means. And you see the burden on government. And I don't think government themselves should take this as lightly. They should be interested in this matter because all it means is that our reserve, even our reserve, foreign reserve, has been depleted to the tune of just 1 week, 2 weeks. And that is so bad for a country, struggling at this point.
Yeah.
Now you have them make the point that all countries are suffering and everybody is going through some challenge of a sort, and so we cannot do anything but to do what we have done. I ask myself and I ask all bankers these questions. All the banks that have been collapsed, if they were given an opportunity to do something about it, would it not have been better? We know that just the collapse of the banks needed only 9 billion Ghana cedis to revive all these banks that were collapsed. Mm-hmm. However, government of Ghana collapsed them and still spent some whopping 25 billion. Is this 25 billion part of the losses that have been incurred? And we're worried. Somebody said that, the debt exchange program has impacted on the Bank of Ghana, and therefore that is the reason for which they are going through what they are going through. How does the debt exchange impact Bank of Ghana? I mean, we want to know. Really, yes, there must be some impact, but not this kind of impact declared in a year. You are not talking about this losses being declared in 1 year, in several years transaction. This is losses for 1 year. And you remember that in 2016, before we handed over, Bank of Ghana had declared profit to the tune of 700 million Ghana cedis. What happened to all that?
So let me engage Manasseh. Manasseh, I hope you can hear me. You're still on. Hello, Manasseh.
Yes, I can hear you.
Right. So,
hi, Annie, I can hear you.
Right. This press conference was, held yesterday. I'm sure that you must have gone through some of the facts that were laid bare at the press conference. We're talking about foreign and domestic travels. We're talking about the motor vehicle maintenance and running, banking supervision expenses, directors' remuneration, communication expenses, computer-related. These are, maybe I would say, just even the minutest part of the expenses of the Bank of Ghana. But loans, money printings and all that was put in the economy, and we should still be at a standstill of a 60 billion, debt. Then, it's fair for anyone to be asking questions, not so?
Yes, I mean, Bank of Ghana recently published their own annual reports, financial statement. And in that regard, I deem it necessary and important for us to even commend the governor and his deputies for coming up straight and being transparent enough with Ghanaians. They have reported incidences of losses. And when you go into the cracks of the matter, they explain that because they were holding some of the marketable instruments and non-marketable instruments of government, in the event where there are challenges, they have recorded some losses. They also further explain that when you look at the domestic debt exchange program, in which government was able to exchange a lot of papers from the individual bondholders and pensioner bondholders and even the institutional bondholders, the Bank of Ghana had to take 50% haircut. So they were the loss absorber for the country to be able to even secure the IMF program. And so for me, I believe it's important for us to go into the cracks of the matter. There are genuine concerns being raised concerning the various lines of expenditure. But when I read through the statements of the NDC, I only see some populist agenda being churned out just to win votes. I do not see why they'll be giving an ultimatum to the Bank of Ghana, giving them 21 days for the governor and even the deputy to resign. I don't know if by that the NDC is trying to communicate that the Bank of Ghana should report to them. I don't know what they really seek to achieve with these things. I believe it is fair for us to ensure that we are able to demand a high level of accountability for the Bank of Ghana to come up again and explain reasons for the various line of expenditure. But given the 50% haircut alone, which amounted to some 32.3 billion Ghana cedis of non-marketable instruments the Bank of Ghana held, together with the marketable ones costing about 16.1 billion, and even the exchange rate volatility, which also came at a cost. I do not see why the NDC would want to ignore the cracks of the matter and only be doing propaganda with a critical issue of this nature.
So maybe before I ask you a follow-up question, let me put this one across first. I had received, a screenshot of Gabi's tweet in 2014, where he said or he wrote, "I think the next occupation must take place at the Bank of Ghana, especially to petition the governor to depreciate himself entirely from the scene. Hashtag Occupy BoG, hashtag Occupy Central Bank, hashtag sack Wampa." Is this something that you would say is the same thing the NDC is calling for today?
The exigencies of our times today is not the same, or it wasn't the same as what happened aforetime, of which you are making references to. Now, when you look at the operations of the central bank, the core mandate of the central bank is to ensure stability of prices and also in the financial sector as well. Bank of Ghana has to be measured along those terms to be sure whether or not they've been able to ensure some stability in our economy as it stands today. Central banks across the country, of course, do record negative equities, and that does not mean once they have negative equity, they are unable to fulfill their core mandate. It is important for us to situate the role and the mandate of the Bank of Ghana within the confines of the law and what they are really being mandated to do, so that we can establish the real issues at hand. It is indeed true that Bank of Ghana in the recent months has been able to stabilize prices and even our Ghana cedi, which is its core mandate. And so we believe it's important for us to not do cheap politics with issues like this, but for us to concentrate and for us to scrutinize Bank of Ghana, one, to find out whether or not they've been able to live up to their expectation of ensuring price stability and currency stability. And we are all living witnesses to this. The price of dollar late last year was around 16 cedis just for $1. Today, you get it around 10 cedis or 11 cedis. We are not saying there's a perfect situation, but we know that.
But Manasseh, if you say that we're not saying that it's a perfect situation. If we have a Bank of Ghana reporting a debt of 60 billion over,
yeah,
and we have a situation where we're even thinking of probably trying to, introduce a tax of recapitalization levy to help the Bank of Ghana reestablish itself, and we are reporting inflation of what's our inflation of 42%. I mean, you are tackling yourself and laughing.
That's not the case, and it is not true that the government intends to introduce any recapitalization levy. The Bank of Ghana hasn't collapsed. There are a lot of allegations here and there, and I'm explaining that the negative equity BoG has reported does not in any way mean that they are unable to deliver on their core mandate of ensuring price stability and financial stability in country. And so once there are losses, these losses again are not unique to Ghana alone. You check over economies across the world and you realize that most countries have their central banks running at losses. Even the US Federal Reserve are running at losses. The Bank of England today has a debt of over 150 billion pounds, of which they incurred only in 2022. And so the main issue has to do with whether or not central banks, even in spite of them reporting negative equities, are able to live up to their mandate of ensuring price stability and financial stability across the financial industry. And that is
in terms of financial stability, did the Bank of Ghana live up to its mandate in terms of procurement processes?
Say again?
Has the Bank of Ghana lived up to its mandate regarding procurement processes, the law, what the law says the Bank of Ghana should be doing? Because if you look at the management of the public debts, maybe I would say Article 30, Clause 6, it says that in the event of any emergency, the governor, the minister, and the controller and accountant general shall meet to decide the limits of borrowing that should be made by the government, and the minister shall submit a report on the issue to Parliament within 7 certain days. I mean, these are issues that have been raised in Parliament by members of the Finance Committee, which has been one reason why the Bank of Ghana's head is also, we are after the Bank of Ghana's head. And so I think there are a lot of issues that have come up in terms of financial management, mismanagement, breaches of procurement processes, and all that. Why do you still insist that it's just propaganda?
I mean, I do not see the correlation between procurement processes of which you mentioned and the financial losses BoG has reported. Bank of Ghana is an independent body and it is a creation of law. And so if for any reason one finds that they are doing anything contrary to our laws, if the person has the liberty to even run to our court to seek justice. I do not find anything untoward as to what the Bank of Ghana has done. They have been fair enough to report the state of its affairs as at today. And of course, we can always probe into the various expenditure items being raised by the Bank of Ghana, but it should be established that no money has been stolen. No one has dipped his hand into any coffers of the Bank of Ghana. These are losses or haircuts. And Bank of Ghana, of course, every now and then would have to undertake financial risk to ensure that the economy is stable, to ensure that the economy does not ground to a halt. And that is how come, as I explained earlier, BoG had to take the 50% haircut, especially in our domestic debt exchange program, to ensure we're able to secure the IMF program and also to keep the economy on its toes. So I do not see anything untoward with what the BoG has done. That's fine.
All right, Manasseh, kindly hold on there. What do you want to respond to? The recapitalization levy has been rubbished. Actually, it's been rubbished by the Deputy Finance Minister, John Kuma, already. And so we probably shouldn't expect or create fear.
This is a government that denies everything until it happens. I mean, it's not as if we are not sure what is going to happen. How do you recapitalize the bank? The bank is gone bankrupt. This is what we are saying. You need to recapitalize it. Where are we going to find the money? The government themselves, they are in crisis. So they can't find the money. It's the taxpayers' money that will go there as equity. And we are saying that even in the IMF report, the IMF actually alerted government that your bank is going insolvent and you need to find ways to recapitalize the bank. So they know, and they will be denying for now. But you watch out what will happen later. Now, it must be said clearly that the role of the Bank of Ghana is to regulate, supervise, direct the banking and credit systems to ensure smooth operation of a safe and sound banking system. And we're saying that if the one who is tasked to control the prudential behavior of banks, to control what banks do, to make sure banks are not insolvent, to make sure that money from depositors that are kept in those banks are not gone to waste, has behaved in such a manner, where is the locus again? Where is the gravitas again to be able to enforce some of these disciplinary measures? And this is what we're saying. Now, you have a bank that says that we are running into losses. You are running into losses at a time you are using $250 million to build the headquarters. And you should go and see the building. It's just directly opposite the Ridge Hospital. Even the Ridge Hospital didn't cost government that much.
Wait, just a moment. Manasseh, are you there? Hello, Manasseh?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Manasseh is not there.
No. So you have the Bank of Ghana Hospital that we built at a cost of 89 or 87 million euros. And that's a 65-bed hospital. Listen, this money we're mentioning, 250, does not include the land. The land is free where it is. So you're talking about infrastructure. And these are the things we are questioning. Okay. What goes in $250 million?
It's actually a question I wanted to pose to Manasseh, but it just escaped me. Manasseh, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm told Prof. Gachi has also joined us. Prof, thank you for your time. Dr. Sharif is also, contacting us from UK. Doc, thank you for your time. But Manasseh, this Bank of Ghana is bankrupt. It's gone bankrupt. Why are they putting up a building? What's the need for it?
When you look at the period within which the Bank of Ghana structure was built, in fact, Bank of Ghana was built by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And so as we speak today, the building within which they occupy is not even fit for purpose. They've had a lot of survey by engineers, and the engineers are even warning them that it will be in their interest to put up a new building to relocate, because the building in which they are in today is not fit for purpose. But I should be quick to mention that this is not the first time Bank of Ghana is going beyond its core mandate to ensure social infrastructure. Under the same NDC, BoG built 3 offices. They even built the BoG hospital and even a guest house. And so I do not see why today the NDC is making a case as if Bank of Ghana
but you are talking about a time. I don't know if you are also trying to build, because under their government they were building, when you are looking at a time when you are making losses of 60 billion, you have gone bankrupt, you don't even know, you can't borrow. When you go to parliament, they're still borrowing you. I don't know what's happening, but you are looking at a loss of this nature, and you say the building, they are sitting in a building that can collapse tomorrow. Hello, Manasseh. Okay, let me welcome Prof. Gachi. Prof, good afternoon to you. Hello, Prof.
Hello, good afternoon.
Right, thank you. Thank you for your time. You're welcome. So, joining, were you able to follow through with the press conference led by the minority in parliament and supported by its party members, NDC? Did you follow through?
Can you ask the question again?
I'm asking if you were able to follow through with the minority-led press conference yesterday and supported by its party members, the NDC. They raised a couple of issues which finally they are now calling for the head of the Bank of Ghana.
Well, I read the press release.
And what do you make of? You think it's a right call from the government? They think that it's just a propaganda noise the opposition party is making. From where you sit, what can you say?
Well, I'm not sure it's just a propaganda noise. It has some issues that ought to be dealt with. I think the public is a stakeholder in the Bank of Ghana. The mere fact that the Bank of Ghana is an independent constitutional institution does not mean that it is operating in vacuum. It operates with public funds, and therefore it ought to be accountable and transparent, and that transparent should resonate with the public. And at this point in time, when the public looks at the financial statement being audited and published of the Bank of Ghana, there are many questions that does not add up to them. And that is where the issue is. So clearly, there are issues. For example, if you take the Bank of Ghana's activity called banking supervision is done by the officers of the Bank of Ghana. And they move from their office to the banks to inspect, to do other things, or receive information and analyze it in their premises. But if you have the Bank of Ghana spending so much in banking supervision, you ask yourself, are they consultant to the Bank of Ghana or their officers of the Bank of Ghana? So clearly, these are issues that the Bank of Ghana should answer. Then, institutions make losses from time to time. Loss is an event that happens to an institution. So is profit an event that happens. But anytime losses are made, the stakeholders will look at why the loss, what decision was taken before the loss was incurred. Those decisions were the decisions which they agree with. If they don't agree with, some of them will cause the chief executive to lose his job. Some of them will not renew the mandate of directors. So those things happen in real life. But if you come to terms with the fact that just 2022, Bank of Ghana, which is supposed to act on the premises of professionalism, independence, and to ensure soundness of itself and the financial sector, will look on for one financial year, lose 60 billion Ghana cedis. Definitely, stakeholders will have cause to ask questions, and that is the reason why they're asking the question. But when they started asking the question, the responses from the Bank of Ghana sound like insulting to the public. Number one, the research head told the whole world that the Bank of Ghana was not created to make profits. Then the question, was it created to make such huge losses? The answer is no. So you realize that they were just belittling the importance of financial statement. I think one cardinal reason why we prepare financial statement and then audit is, number one, to show the financial health of the institution. And at this point in time, the financial health of the institution is not good, and the explanations given are not catchy enough. To get 55.1 billion negative equity is a huge blow to the Bank of Ghana and to the stakeholders of the Bank of Ghana, and they are seeking explanation, and the explanation are not adding up. So I think that is very good reasons why the demand was being made, and the Bank of Ghana should make effort to make those issues very clear to us, without which I think the Bank of Ghana is not acting properly. Now, if you take the debt exchange program, you see the Bank of Ghana is speaking as if the debt exchange program is one of the most sound decisions or policy decision by government. It is not.
Because maybe because it's helped save the situation within a very tough period.
That is their thinking. That is their thinking. The point is that if you don't lend money to government, how would debt exchange affect you? How much was Bank of Ghana allowed to lend to government? Even during the period of turmoil, where the Act allowed the governor, the finance ministry, and the controller of accountant general, and then to report to parliament within 7 days. What decision was taken? Was that decision communicated? How much did they say that they have agreed that the Bank of Ghana to lend to the central bank and have been reported to parliament? So all these things were not done. So if people were saying reckless, they are using the word reckless in this context. And I think that the Bank of Ghana was acting against its own act, and that should not be taken lightly at all.
Prof, can you hold on? Let me take a quick breather. I have to do for money. I'll be back shortly, and then we can wrap up with Prof and you here. Back shortly. All right, you're welcome back to Good Afternoon Ghana. From Positive Change, Madina says, a Bank of Ghana, Nana Baumia, government's gross management and recklessness. How do you spend $250 million in building a new office in the current economic difficulties? If not for thievery and corruption, how could an institution like Bank of Ghana make 60.8 billion losses? How? You say, as how frustrated you are. Good afternoon, Annie. Maybe the foreign travels include parliamentarians' foreign travels that balloon to this level. Let Manasseh know that the NDC is not doing propaganda, but his comments rather is trying to please the NPP, and he shouldn't do that. Alhaji Haruna, former chairman, sent this in, and this also says that, okay, I've read this. Let me just capture this. Evans Dinko says that, Annie, good afternoon. Under JDM, the Bank of Ghana made profits and invested in in world-class hospitals in Accra and massive guest house in Takoradi. Under the helpless Baumia, they have lost us a colossal 60 billion. Ask Manasseh, the NPP communicator, if the situation are the same. Let me just go to Prof, are you still there? Let me wrap up with you before I come into the studio.
Yeah.
Hello, Prof. Yeah. Yes. So, I mean, the issues are many. My time is up, actually. The issues are many with the Bank of Ghana. But in the midst of the situation where the Bank of Ghana is putting up a 250 million Ghana cedis edifice, and Manasseh has explained that because the office of the Bank of Ghana has received warnings from, is it architect, he said, that they are probably sitting on a time bomb with the current building that they are occupying. And so they have to put up a building as soon as possible. These and many the Bank of Ghana is still doing in the midst of the crisis.
Well, I'm not sure people are merely against Bank of Ghana putting up another office space which is more befitting. The question is it this time that you should start? When did they start that building? Is it 3 years ago? Or is it this year? How much is it costing? Is that the amount they are mentioning? Does it sound well in the ears of other architects, building contractors, etc.? So those are the issues. And in the midst of a bank making losses and negative equity, indirectly indicating that the bank cannot pay its debt when they fall due, the bank is insolvent. Is it the time to be doing that? So those are the issues that are being raised, and nobody can wish away these important issues away. So those are the things.
Right. Let me engage Manasseh. Manasseh, are you still there?
And if Manasseh is not ready, there are more important.
Hello, Manasseh.
Or more precarious issues with the Bank of Ghana dealing. You see, if you read the art indicates that the Bank of Ghana every 6 months should account to the Finance Committee of Parliament. We are in July. We are in August rather. The last one that was to be done was in July. It seems the parliamentarians are complaining the Bank of Ghana has not been forthcoming with that report. And that report will actually indicate the operations of the Bank of Ghana, things that they are doing, including the debt or the lending to government, etc. These things are not being done. That's what we are told. And if it is true that it's not being done, that is also very problematic on the side of the Bank of Ghana. So I believe there are more issues to compliance with their own law than we are discussing.
Right. I'm grateful, Prof. Manasseh.
Honey.
Hello, Manasseh.
Hello. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. There are many issues. Maybe you would say that it's just too much to push or call for the head of the governor. But will you say, with the facts that has been laid bare, with their own report of the Bank of Ghana, the breaches that it has been involved in, or it's showing that it has been involved in, will you advise the Bank of Ghana itself to explain these expenses further to the public so that we understand? Because there's one that, it got me a little worried or wondering what exactly was spent on remuneration. I just want to capture it well. So it says that remuneration for directors of BoG cost the suffering taxpayers money a whopping 8.6 million in 2022 alone. 8.6 million for these directors of the Bank of Ghana. Is this something that you think Bank of Ghana and these many issues that have come up, after you commending them, they should actually break down or explain to the public these expenses?
Annie, you use the word breaches. I am at loss as to what breaches you are talking about. We've explained that the Bank of Ghana is an independent body and whatever they do is within their purview. However, I do not find any breaches.
When you say it's an independent body, how do you mean?
I mean, it is a creation of law. And so within the remits of the law, they have their own operations and activities. However, in the event of losses, as has been recorded, it's important, just as Prof said, for us to even probe further into it. With the issues concerning the new building, it's important for us to even dig deeper to find out when these payments began and for what, within what period, how much was even expended in 2022. And so I believe these are genuine concerns for every Ghanaian to raise, especially as it relates to the various expenditure lines the BoJ itself reported in its report.
So the Bank of Ghana Act, right? Section 30, Act 612 amended. Let's go to clause 2. It says that the total loans, advance purchases of treasury bills and securities made under subsection 1 shall not at any time exceed 5% of the total revenue of the previous fiscal year. And 7, clause 7 says where a total of loans, advances, purchases of treasury bills and securities made under subsection 1, clause 1, if 5% of the previous fiscal year, a total revenue, the governor shall notify the minister and parliament of the attainment of the limits under the subsection 2, and the minister, upon notification, shall report to parliament on the remedial measures to be taken. Do you agree that the Bank of Ghana did not follow through with some of its financial decisions?
I mean, that has not been established. I have not seen any establishment to that effect. And if you would remember, within the incidence of COVID, the Fiscal Responsibility Act was deactivated. And by that, it was Parliament that took away the threshold so that government will be able to expend to protect the Ghanaian people. And so in view of that, I am not sure Bank of Ghana has acted in any way untoward. If for any reason, minority in Parliament or anyone feels there has been some anomalies as to how Bank of Ghana has conducted itself, I mean, the right procedures are there for everyone to channel his or her grievances through the courts. But again, for anybody or even for the NDC to make some statements in view of some 21 days ultimatum being given to the governor and his deputies and saying they will occupy the Bank of Ghana, which is a national security zone, I do not think that is the right way to go. I believe if they find anything untoward, they are at liberty to, of course, seek redress on this issue and so we keep our economy on track. But for us to be raising issues of ultimatums and all of that would further weaken our economic stability, of which the government and the Bank of Ghana seeks to strengthen.
Right. Manasseh, I'm grateful for your time, but let me come back into the studio and wrap up with you.
The point has to be made that prior to now, the Act says that...
The Act even makes provision for emergencies.
Yeah, no, but prior to now, the Act says zero financing from BoG. It is this same government, in collusion with this same governor, that went to Parliament to ask for a review. Yeah. And the review pegs it at 5%. What was government revenue in the year before? It was 45 billion. 45 billion, 5% of 45 billion should be 2.1 billion Ghana cedis. But how much did they expend to government? How much was given to government?
He said it's not been established. Of breaches.
Well, he talks about not being established, it's not been a breach and all that. But we are looking at the prudence with which the money has been managed. You are talking about 13 directors. The board of directors of Bank of Ghana are 13. The previous year, their remuneration was far lower than the 8.6 that we have seen. So they have been able to pay themselves 8.6. That's about 287% more than
How much was it the previous year?
The previous year, I don't know, but it's about 287% increase on the previous year.
Wow.
And that's scary.
Okay.
Now, look at this. The head office that they are building is equal to 2.8 billion Ghana cedis. Now, 2.8 billion Ghana cedis, and you're declaring losses of 60 billion. Where are we going? You look at car maintenance, and I've been searching all the car companies in Ghana, Toyota Ghana, Nissan and all that manages the cars of these institutions. They don't record this kind of profits. 37 million Ghana cedis in the name of car maintenance. How much does Toyota? Losses? The total, revenue from Toyota Ghana in this country, how much is it? Is it up to 100 million? So where are the monies? These are the legitimate questions we're asking. You talk about travel, 97 million Ghana cedis on domestic and foreign travels. Even if you were flying by business class, the average ticket is about $5,000. That means that you made about 1,700 trips in 1 year. Who are those making the trips? On which flights? How much are they making? These are the legitimate questions that we're asking, and nobody seems to be giving, legitimate answers. Do you know that they actually declared? They said undisclosed, expenses. 287 million undisclosed. So really, the difficulty is to marry the expenditure that is made via or vis-a-vis the losses that they are incurring. So you will say that this money is going to personal pocket. And that's why you see all the inflation we have in the system, because there's so much money moving around without commensurate
when you have
goods,
at this point in time, you have a lot of work to do, you as opposition and maybe as a country, because when you have the central bank working with the government, directly with the government, if the BoG agrees with the government, or the government agrees with the BoG, there's almost little you can do unless you go to court. But
then they are the same people who turn around to say that they are autonomous, they are independent.
So he says go to court.
So it is that independence and the autonomy that has been breached. Right. In any case, autonomy doesn't mean that you exist in a vacuum. Right. Autonomy is granted to you via the law, and the law requires that certain things are done. Now they're asking us to go to court as if we don't know what happens when we go to court on these matters. It is the same Attorney General who will be the one to sanction any criminal charges against the governor. So we are aware.
Right.
However, when we come to government in 2024, we are very sure that these matters will be brought back to the fore.
Right. Wanda Madilo is development analyst and a member of the NDC. I also had Professor John Gachi, who is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School. Also, Manasseh Atapwahin is a government spokesperson on economy. He joined me via Zoom as well. Manasseh, I'm grateful for your time, and Prof. Gachi as well. I'm grateful. Madilo, thank you for coming through. My name is Anil Fampo. For this has been Good Afternoon, Ghana.